Who can take a rainbow, wrap it in a sigh, soak it in the sun and make a groovy lemon pie? The Candyman. Oh, the Candyman can. Oh, the Candyman can, 'cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. Hi there, Terence McGuana here. Welcome to the live stream. And today I'm joined by my good friend from Instagram, Josh, the horror collector, and we're going to talk about Candyman and other horror subjects. And feel free to leave us a comment, and we will respond to your comments and answer any questions or anything like that. And so I'm going to get things kicked off. Okay, so in October, it will be 30 years since Candyman came out in the United States. When did you, Josh? I'm so sorry. Hello, how are you doing? I've got the manners of an
I'm good, man.
absolute
How are
pig
you?
here. You good?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, brilliant. It's so good to finally get to actually talk to you. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
we've been
cool.
communicating for months. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just it's just it's just amazing,
it is.
absolutely amazing. And well, as I was saying, yeah, in October it will be 30 years. Can you believe it?
That's
30
crazy.
years since Candyman came out. And um, wait, I just want to ask, when did you first see it, and what were your first impressions of it?
I saw it July. I think it was July 6th or 7th of '93. I was 6, 7,
Right?
and
Wow.
it was intense. I was a little kid, man. Like I saw a lot of horror movies when I was a kid, and I remember being scared. I remember. I still to this day won't say his name in the mirror. I don't know why. It could be superstitious, but like I won't play that game. He's an iconic character, and like I think he's a character that we need in society today. And he was. And it's the strange thing about the character is that he was a victim, right? Like he was brutalized and about racism, and which is alive today in some aspects. And I don't know. I've always enjoyed the film. I met the man. I've had conversations with him. Um, and that voice is legendary. You hear it. You send. I think that first scene in Candyman where Helen's in that car garage, and you hear the echoing of his voice
Oh,
from the car garage. It's
yeah.
haunting and chilling at the same time, and it still sends little goosebumps up the back of my neck, and it's very effective. But yeah, that was my first time experience with Candyman, and I will never forget it.
Summer of '93, you say?
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting because it didn't come out in the UK until like March, April '93. We had to wait a
Mm-hmm.
few months for it, and I remember at the time I was well familiar with Clive Barker because of Hellraiser and Nightbreed,
Yes.
and at the time Nightbreed was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I've still yet to watch the director's cut of Nightbreed. That's one on my list to
Oh, it's
uh,
good.
yeah, the to sort of rewatch. I mean, I love the creature effects, and David Cronenberg is the slasher character in it.
Oh
He
man,
was
he's
he,
iconic.
he was very creepy, right? And but I kind of dismissed it, just in the fact that I didn't find the idea of it scary. That here we have this guy with a hook for a hand. It's like what, Captain Hook, right? And he's called Candyman. Just making sure that there was no mirrors anywhere,
Don't look
right?
around.
Yeah, he was called Candyman, which just sounded, like the Sammy Davis Jr. song, Willy Wonka, right? That just didn't bother me at all. And I thought, yeah, and that for me at the time, the horror franchises had all wound down. Freddy was dead, right? But at that point, right? So I didn't really think this was going to be any good. I thought it looked contrived, like, oh, they're trying to do a sort of Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees type character that will be just bland. And then I saw it around about November on video cassette. just and I rewatched the film today in preparation for speaking with you, and that opening, just the opening of his voice, right, with the bees, it brought it all back. It just grabbed me instantly, right? And that opening shot, what is it? It's called the sky cam that they were using, which was quite revolutionary at the time to capture that bird's eye view over Chicago.
Yes.
Uh, it just grabbed me straight away for the first time I saw it, and I knew from that that this wasn't comparable with Freddy and Jason
Yeah.
Leatherface. Well, I didn't hadn't seen Leatherface yet, but those characters, it was I just knew from that opening this was different. Wow.
Mm.
But yeah, what I was going to ask as well, what do you think that makes it still such an important horror film?
I think he's different from everybody else. I don't think he's. I don't think that you just nailed it. What you just said. Like he's not like Freddy or Jason or Michael. He really was a victim. He was, and Freddy wasn't a victim. He was a monster, right? He was a child murderer. You know, underneath that, he was a pedophilic character, but it was undertoned. Here, with this character, he's completely innocent. He was. I mean, if you go into the sequel, he was in love with that guy's daughter, right? And like they hunted him down because of that. They severed off his hand. They put a honeycomb all over his body, and they let bees attack him, and he died. Like
Hmm.
he was a part of a violent mob. We, because he loved somebody of different color. Like get out of here. Like
Yeah, well, that sorry to interrupt you, and feel
no, you're
free
good.
to do likewise. Right, is what I got from watching it today
Hmm.
was the subject of the taboo between interracial relationships. There was
Yes.
even some imagery that I never noticed in the old. I mean, I hadn't seen it in about 20 years, but there was some imagery in it that made it sort of romanticized the relationship that Helen Lyle has with Candyman. In
Oh,
particular, when she's getting told she meets this other journalist that um, she's criticizing at dinner,
yeah.
and he tells her the myth a bit more about the myth of Candyman. And when she's getting told this, they have this lighting technique that I've seen in.
Oh,
This goes back to old romantic films like Casablanca, where the lighting sort of brings out her eyes a little bit
mm-hmm,
more, makes her look more beautiful. That's the kind of it's a cinematography technique to
mm-hmm,
make her look more like a romantic lead, like Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca, for example. And felt that there was a hint of romance in that shot when she's getting told about this, which foreshadows what Candyman feels about Helen that we discover later on, and also the moment where he's carrying her in his arms. Right, they're
uh,
so. I love that. It's almost like that's the subtext there is about the taboo because although Candyman himself is not, he wasn't a slave. He was actually wealthy, right?
mm-hmm,
And he was a painter. He was an artist, and these people killed him because of that taboo. And that's why.
yeah,
And the film, I think at that time, 1992, another film which, if you look this up on the Box Office Mojo, if you can actually look up the top films with an interracial relationship that have made money at the box office, and strangely, right, the film that's made the most money with an interracial relationship is The Bodyguard, which came out in 1992 as
great
well,
too though. Yeah, I.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Which has never changed to this day. Bodyguard is still number one,
Oh
and
wow, cool.
that's kind of indicative of the sort of segregation within cinema that
Mm-hmm.
I think Candyman reaches for with the image of her looking romanticized when she's been told about this gentleman is harking back to the old romantic classics in the 40s.
Yeah.
Sorry. I gave it some thought, right? The movie really struck a nerve with me today.
Well, it's
Uh,
interesting to bring that up because there's that scene where you're talking about with the lighting effect, which is beautiful. The way they did it, it's beautifully
yeah,
shot.
yeah,
She was really hypnotized on set. She went to a hypnotist and she was hypnotized. So when you see those certain scenes, especially the car garage
with the
scene, I
bees.
love. Yeah, the car garage scene too, when her eyes look like so like she's so like she's there, but her eyes seem empty. Her soul's not there. It's because she was hypnotized, and it's such a beautiful scene. She said she Virginia Madison, the actress, said I would never do that again. She's like it was the most weird, awkward feeling I've ever had on a set with that stuff. And I'm like, it was interesting, man. It's interesting how they all come together, and it is a love story. This is a love story. It is a love.
Yeah, it's,
I you nailed it. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it really is just it's just powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I was just the weird thing. my recollections of the film was
Hmm.
that it was more violent, right?
Yeah.
When I went to see the sequel, the 2021 version of Candyman that came out last year,
Hmm.
I was like, oh, this is quite tame. I remember Candyman being quite brutal, right? It does have moments in it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It really wasn't that violent as a film visually, right?
Right.
Yeah, but the obviously the intent was there, but what I forgot about it was that it had this element of foreboding throughout it. Even though Tony Todd's character rarely appears on screen, and that was another thing. I forgot that the Candyman hardly appears in this movie, but you feel his presence. You feel his presence throughout this movie.
They,
That was
they discuss his myth and his legend so much that you film in almost every shot of this film. Like he's there with.
yeah. How they how they pulled that off is just it's just wicked. It's really wonderful.
It was
And
well.
I think the camera techniques, the camera moves were even when she was in the college at the University of Illinois,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
just beautiful sweeping shots that they
Oh
use
yeah.
throughout this film,
Really
right?
good
And
stuff.
it does trump the new one. With the 2021 version was lovely. It was nicely shot. Now I
Oh yeah.
appreciated that, but this one, it really is the it really is the daddy when it comes to telling this story,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I was absolutely flabbergasted by it today, and I didn't expect that. I was waiting to go. This is dated. This is dated somewhat. I don't know why. Just because it's been so long. But
Absolutely.
no,
Mhm.
it just holds up perfectly. Just this thing keeps on shutting down and taking all my questions away. Where are we? Yeah. How do you feel, Daniel Robitaille or Do Robitel? Is that how you say his name?
Robotai. Mhm.
Robitaille. How do you feel Daniel Robitaille, aka Candyman, holds up against other cinematic boogeymen?
Because he was made into this. He wasn't born this. He's not like, he wasn't a monster. He was made into one by these people, and he is a warning to everybody. And like, listen, it's simple. You don't say his name, he doesn't come to you. It's a simple concept. Like you bring him.
Ah,
It's like a temptation thing. You're the one calling him to you. It's very simple. Mhm.
see, I would disagree there because you've got the friend of Helen. Is it Cassie Lemons, the actress? She's a
Oh,
director as well. She also directed Eve's Bayou, which is
yeah.
another fantastic film from the 1990s. One of the very best, actually. Yeah, that character. She only said it 4 times. She got scared of saying it 5 times when they were both together, and she said it in the mirror. So
Well, the catch you off guard though, because she was still in the room with her when she said it though, and the mirror was reflected on her as well.
okay, all right, I'll
I'm
take
not
your
sure
word
how
on it.
I'm not sure how the rules work, but like it makes sense if she's still in there with her, and then she still said it.
Yeah, still, she still had the doubt. I think that's the thing about the whole thing is that you don't believe his existence, and
Yeah,
that comes to bite you. You have that sense of doubt. It's about faith, right?
right.
Candyman is a story about faith to an extent,
Yeah,
right?
I totally agree with that. Yeah, you have to believe in him. He wants you to believe in him. He doesn't want you.
Yeah, he even says it explicitly.
Yeah.
But the thing that really, oh, I just had it on the tip of my tongue there. Right, back to the question. Sorry, I had a really good point there. It just vamoosed. But as a native of Chicago yourself, how accurate do you feel the film represents that city and the social and racial disparity that it portrays?
I think it was pretty much on point. I mean, like, listen, it wasn't, I think, as heavy as it is now, is it in some aspects, but like, you know, um, the gothic tone, which it was dark, right? Like in today's society, like, what's the best way I can put this? I don't want to get in trouble. Um,
With this sort of
oh, like the
discrimination?
Yes, that, and then the fact that we get to see the African American people living in these rundown buildings and these rundown gothic buildings, almost like the buildings are almost characters of themselves in this film. They really are, and
Yeah,
um, I don't. Oh, I'm so bad. I haven't seen the movie in a while. You meet the one character's the woman who's like talking about she has a baby and the dog, right?
yeah,
And like you're meeting her and like she's living in this rundown gangland, just trying to support her child and get through the day. And she's every day. At the end of the day, we're all people, right? Like we're all just trying to make it through. It doesn't matter,
yeah,
and doesn't matter any of that crap. We're just trying to make it to the next day, and that's what I got from that. Like we're all people, right? Like it doesn't matter. And like, listen, he was destroyed as a man because of his color and because of his love for this white woman. That's what this caused. And then you see Epic now. These people are living in this rundown building that his legend is very much alive,
yep,
and these people know it. And I don't know, man. I think it's a beautiful story, and like it's beautiful how it transcends into these people, and because their culture, right? Like they are him, because of who they are as people. Um,
yeah. Well, I've
but yeah,
got some really good points to bring up on that, but let me move into the comments here. I've got my good friend Natty here. Hi, Terence. The People Under the Stairs was a great movie. You recommended it last time I was
oh,
here,
great.
right? And you know what's interesting about that, Natty? It has a there are some similar themes to Candyman, right? So you need to check out Candyman if you've not seen it. And it's funny that it came out within like what was it, a year of each other? People Under the Stairs, I recall, came out in the US in October of 1991, thereabouts.
I
So I used to watch this box office show back in the early 90s. So I was right on these movies when they were coming out. I was like, oh, I just whenever I say anything come out in America, it's like, oh, 6 months. I'll wait for that one. But the People Under the Stairs and the Candyman are kind of an interesting uh, double act in a sense because they do involve that whole situation. I mean, you wait all your whole life to have a horror film with African American protagonists, antagonists
mm,
in these films, and then two come along within a year of each other that are absolute classics, right?
yeah,
and and they're perfect just now. We're talking 30 years, 30 odd years later, and they've not aged a day, right? You know,
they're great stories too.
absolutely brilliant, right? And the
Mhm.
godfather of cinema, he says, I have not seen this film in decades, but I put it up there. Just wish that Barker would have written the sequel. Great for Barker to tackle racism directly instead of indirectly. Yeah, absolutely. I've not seen the sequel, Johnny. I've seen parts of it on television. It didn't really grab me, and I know that he had story writing credit, but that's probably just because he's Clive Barker and he gets a paycheck no matter what. Um, Hi, Retro Hawk. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Natty, you will absolutely love Candyman. It's not that scary, but it is creepy. There is a real foreboding uh, ness through it. Forebodingness. There's a new one for me. But going back to what you were saying, right? The idea of this sort of racial disparity that's going on in Candyman. There was a line in it that I thought was really interesting when Helen gets beat up for the first time by the gang,
Yeah,
right? And right after it, she finds out that the Cabrini Green is under lockdown now. And it's like, oh yeah, people get murdered there every single day, nothing happens, but a white woman just gets beat up and they're in lockdown. She says that, and I like Helen. I remember as a kid, I when I first saw it, I wasn't I wasn't really taken with her. I kind of thought she was a snooty, no, a busybody character,
yeah,
right? I don't know why. Just because she's this white woman who's just moving into the ghetto and doing
yeah,
whatever she wants, but she wants the truth, right?
yeah,
Our friend does say to her, "Look, you could just do a puff piece, go through all the stuff that's already there and write that." But she's like, "No, I want something. I want to get the truth here. I want to get something deeper." And that's a noble thing to do if you're a journalist, not just write some piece of trash. I think she has a good character, and she does actually care about these people. She doesn't.
yeah.
She doesn't feel that they're lesser in any way.
Nope.
You know. So and and I don't want to go into the ending since Natty's not seen it. But
Sure.
yeah, she's a good. She has a heroic character. There is one moment in it where I would say that she kind of. I think it just comes from her natural inquisitiveness, where she starts looking through the photographs again, and you're thinking by that point, I would have went the other way. I think by this point, I think I would go right. There's something supernatural here that I
Yeah.
shouldn't bother with. Yeah, Retro Hawk, the new Candyman is good. The original is just an absolute masterpiece.
Mhm.
I was just floored by it today. Absolutely floored, and at the right age to see it. Because what are we talking about? 93. I was 14 when I seen Candyman, and I didn't fully get it. But see,
He's out of breath.
I just go off like an absolute roller coaster.
Nice.
But let's move away from Candyman just for a wee brief moment, right? We
Sure.
can come back, right? But what are but this probably ties into it anyway, considering what you were saying earlier on. But what are some of your most prized horror collectibles, Josh? And can you tell us something about them? This
Uh,
is going to be fun for me.
bet it is. I'll show this again for everybody that didn't get to see it yet. Because we were just talking about Candyman, but like
We weren't live. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful.
yeah, like
Signed by Tony Todd himself.
yeah, and like I talked to the man about his. He talked about the stories about Capri Green and like the snipers on the rooftops having to be on set with filming because it was such a dangerous place. And of course, it is torn down now. It no longer exists. But this would definitely be the second one for me. Is Dream Warriors, signed by Robert England. If you guys,
Oh, magic. Was he right there? Welcome to prime time. Oh, brilliant.
yeah,
Classic scene. Yeah.
uh,
That was my childhood favorite. Nightmare on Elm Street
yeah,
Part 3.
it is one of my favorite of all time. Another one would definitely be I do have Kane Hodder's autograph from Friday the 13th.
Jason.
I do have Jennifer Rubin from Dream Warriors who plays Taryn. Um,
Taran. Dream Warriors.
she played
Taran. Which character's
she the
which character's
Mohawk.
Taran? Oh,
She
the Mohawk, yeah. Let's get
Mohawk.
high.
Um, yeah, I had her, and I have Doug Bradley who did
Oh, Pinhead.
Hellraiser, and
Do you
then
know that he was do you know that sorry to interrupt, but do you know that Doug Bradley was a sex symbol in Japan back in the day?
no,
As Pinhead. For some reason, the Japanese just thought he was like Johnny Depp.
that's
In
insane.
Johnny Depp's prime, not now where he's all messed up, but
It is funny. He told me a story about how he gets letters all the time from these women who want to have his children. So,
yeah,
and,
spiky children.
yeah,
I think childbirth would be painful, but that's just me.
yeah,
Aye, wouldn't be your soul that get tore apart.
yeah. Well, definitely not. But
Sorry.
I will show you a couple things really quick. I should have got more stuff out, but it's not.
Oh,
I have a couple horror collectibles. It's a little bit messy because I am rearranging stuff. But like, if you guys can see this,
oh wow, Nightbraid,
yeah,
pretty. Nice stuff.
I do have like masks, and
Oh, just in case.
I do have Doug.
Oh, there he is.
I will.
Oh, brilliant.
She did sign it. In my dreams, I'm beautiful and bad.
Oh, I'm beautiful and bad. That's great. Yeah, I love that line.
And I have these cool little figures, and
Oh, bobbleheads.
yep, my
Oh,
my girlfriend's really into Halloween and stuff like that. I am too. It's one of my favorite franchises of all time. But yeah,
right. You happy with kills then? Were you pleased with that?
overall, yeah. I mean, the dialogue wasn't the best in some aspects, but like we're there to see Michael, right? And like that's what he does, and I think he looked great. And
He was on steroids for me. I don't know what was wrong with him. I think maybe because they trapped him and that was it. He was just they peed him off, right? It was time for
yeah,
he was they made time to get was it Richard Pryor says in Star Crazy, gotta get paid. That was that was Michael Myers for me. But if you like that film, then you should watch The Sadness because that's got that kind of violence. It's just random, ridiculous violence. I'm a wee bit kind of pumped from it because it was so brutal. Watched that today. Although I would say it kind of slows down towards the end, and I kind of lost interest in it. But the second act is just sheer brutality.
Mm.
Up to 11. Hi, Lutube. Hi, Kathy. Oh, brilliant. So yeah, I'd give it a go, right? But if you like the Halloween Kills, it's that kind of film. It's just crazy kills, right?
I like that.
Um, but nice place, by the way. You've got there much nicer than this place. I know I look as if I'm in the sunken place right now, right? That's Scotland for you.
Yeah.
But sorry, I'm getting lost in these questions here.
Oh,
What
you're
are your opinions on remakes, reboots of classic horror movies and franchises?
they're hit or miss for me, man. To be honest with you, there's some that work for me. There's some that don't, and like it just depends. It just depends what you grew up with. Like I grew up with Nightmare on Elm Street. It was the first horror film I ever saw. I was 6 years old. I watched
Oof.
the. I wasn't a fan. Um, there's some that I do like. I love the Hills Have Eyes remake. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Is it better than the originals? Hell no, they never will be. You can't go back to what they did the first time. If you would ask me what I prefer the originals. But funny enough, there are God, this is gonna be so sacrilegious. Like, there's gonna be some that are I do think that are better than the originals. Like, I love Wes Craven. I miss that man's filming and him as a human being. And
Yep.
I the original Hills Have Eyes is iconic. It always will be. But like when I pop in Hills Have Eyes, I've always watched the remake for some reason. I think it's definitely more brutality. The brutality in the
Yeah.
film is way over the top a little bit more. I love the KMB effects are a lot more, in your face. And I don't know, I resonated with the story a little bit more of this guy who's like he's not into guns, and at the end he's holding the shotgun and he's blowing these guys away.
Right. Okay. I've still not seen it. You're really selling it to me. 'Kay, I grew up on the House of Eyes. That was one of the sort of early ones that we
Mhm.
saw, and I'll kill your kids for that. And
Yeah.
the and it's an enjoyable film, but I get your point. It is a little bit, I wouldn't say dated. It's a lot
No.
slower. The 70s movies were,
Yeah, man.
right?
Yeah.
Right? And if they have wisdom in hindsight doing a remake, because what else are they going to do if they've got any brains in their heads? They're going to go. We're going to ramp up the carnage here.
Mm.
And they've got when you're using digital editing as opposed to using an old movieola to cut film together on a low budget,
Oh
then
yeah.
you're going to have faster cuts. You're going to have more cameras on set, and they had a studio budget as opposed to some low budget 70s thing. So yeah, I get your point there, and
Mm.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I don't think these films are I don't think they're sacred. I think you could do a remake of Nightmare on Elm Street and do it really really well, but based on what you've said and what others have said, they've mucked it up. Right? I still haven't checked that one out, but they're not sacred, right? And it's no one's taking the original away from you,
No,
right?
I
That's the
don't.
thing.
I don't think you need to be. There's some people that are really violent. Like if you like a movie, and it's like, dude, like at the end of the day, it's a movie. If you like it, there's friends I have in the community that are like, I like this movie. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. It's not for me though. I grew up with these things. Like I grew up with all of them, and like I get shit for liking Freddy's Dead, and like that movie isn't the best. Okay, I can admit that to you. But like, there's something about it that charms me. I saw it when I was a kid, and it came out in VHS, and it connected with me. And like again, not all remakes work for me, but like again,
Yeah.
like you said, no one's taking the original away from you. You always
Nope.
have it. What?
Precisely.
Mm.
And it is kind of pointless argument, and we can sit and argue. We can sit and argue. Oh, this one's better. Now that one's better. That's just your opinion, and that's fine. You're not gonna really persuade someone unless
No.
unless we go through scene by scene. This scene was done better. Look at that. Look at the
Oh,
acting there, right?
I get that a lot. So it's just, dude, like, no, but like, it's an opinion. You can't change someone's perspective or what they see in the film. It's what you see too. Like,
Yeah. See, I'm a huge fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original '74
Yeah.
masterpiece, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I went to see what was it, House of a Thousand Corpses when it came out. And
Mm,
before that started, they had this excellent trailer for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, right?
mm.
Where they had that ping mad sound that was
Oh,
iconic from the original, the flashbulb thing,
so
and they had this great surround sound in the cinema for the trailer, and I was like, yeah, let's give me that, right? I was like, yeah, I'm not sitting there going, how dare they, you know, cast thee into hell. No, I
I
was
know.
fine. Saw it a few months later on on DVD. I don't know why I didn't go and see it in the pictures, and I was fine with it. But to be honest, to be perfectly honest, it was an enjoyable remake. But sitting here right now, I cannot remember anything that happened in it. I am not joking. Right?
No.
I know there's a part where the guy's on a meat hook and he's got one leg. That
Yeah.
is all I remember from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. But I had a great time watching it. But see the original 1974, that is tattooed to my mind's eye,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
can close my eyes and go to any part of that film, right? Can't
Yeah.
remember anything. Can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. But oh yeah, I can see that whole room full of bones and that girl
Oh man,
and
that
the
was.
feathers. I can see that right now. That movie is just burned into my consciousness.
It doesn't even feel like a movie. Sometimes it feels like you're watching a snuff film. Like you just feel like you're watching this stuff. This guy just killing all these people coming to his house.
Yep.
Like, there's a great
Yeah.
shot where like Leatherface is like freaking the hell out. Like
Yep.
because there's so many people. Because he's trying to figure out like where the hell are all these people coming from? Like, his territory. Like he feels threatened. And like you said, sing with me. It is a fan. It is a favorite, man. Like, and that's that chilling scene where he kills the first victim, and he closes those iron shutter doors,
Oh,
and
you get
and it
that.
reflects that noise, and you're just like, Jesus.
Yeah. To me that sound is almost like it's like the soundtrack is telling the audience, do you understand what you're getting yourself into here?
Yeah.
And I've read people that wrote about it over the years. I've read so much stuff about this movie. I'd read so much into it before I even saw it because it was banned for so long in this
Oh wow.
country, right? And the one of the things that someone read, I don't know who wrote this, but they said it was as if this film was made by crazy people. It was as if the
Uh,
people that made this film are absolutely insane, right? And I know you could say this is so tame. You could say that about this the sadness, which I watched today. You could accuse that film of like these people are bonkers making this film. It's so disgusting,
mm,
right? But over 20, 30 years ago when I was reading about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, nothing had really matched it at that point, really, for its just sense of dread. I know there was sicker movies, there was films with animal cruelty and all that, or what have you,
oh,
right? Or they were just made to upset people, right? I
shock.
don't, but yeah, shock value, right? Like Necromantic was made to upset the West
Oh.
German government, right?
Mm,
That was the whole goal of that director. But whereas the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they went out of their way to make a really compelling horror film,
yeah.
right? And changed what they did is they changed the whole game,
I
right?
agree with that. Yeah, they did.
It's right. It's just remarkable, and it's easy to dismiss it now and think, well, we've had umpteen Friday the 13th. None of these films would have existed without it. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree with that statement. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like
the
it's like remember some people are telling you like it's like the blood ever. If you watch the movie, there's hardly any blood. The tone is ferocious of that movie though. You don't see a lot of blood. You do not. Mhm.
No, no, but it's unrelenting. See, we were talking about the door shutting. The one that always gets me is when Leatherface just comes in with the sledge and just batters the guy,
Mhm.
right? And you've seen my Little Richard mixtape, right? Where I've pretty
Yeah,
much taken all the terror out of it,
yeah,
right? Right?
that was good.
Well, I know, but the thing is, when you watch that film, that is just so brutal. The way
Mhm.
he hits that character, right? See, when the guy's tripping over into the doorway and you get that iconic shot, that's not as bad. What really disturbs me about that scene is the spasms. He starts having spasms, right? That's always disturbed me. It's like, oh my goodness. But when he just comes in and just brings that down on his head, it's just the sound effect, just the sheer
Yeah,
ferocity of it, gets
mm,
me every time,
it
every
does.
single time. Still to this day.
Great shot.
Um, what was going to say? What sort of horror films are you most drawn to, and why? If you had to go through the
If I had to pick, if you had to, like,
subgenre, yeah,
yeah, someone came out to me like and forced me to choose, I'm really into like the slasher. I love and like Halloween. Um, what else is a slasher? Nightmare on Elm Street, I would say, was a slasher. I mean, the first
yeah,
one, more though than so. The first one was dark. But yeah, definitely the slasher genre, man. I really do like, of course, Scream. I mean, that started this whole horror thing up again because of that film. Um, horror was dead in the '90s, like you said earlier. Like it was
pretty
dead,
much.
and
Freddy
then
was dead.
yes, and all these icons that we know and love were pretty much gone. And then Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson, well, more Kevin Williamson wrote this horror script, and Wes Craven got attached. And next thing it was the shock pedals back to the genre and revived it and brought it back to life. And ever since that movie, it's been back and it's been thriving. It hasn't been dead; it's thriving.
Mm.
There's,
Yeah, I'd say since Scream came out
hmm
and maybe New Nightmare as well, that it's never really. I think horror fans came into their own because of Scream to an extent, and that's where maybe people in America, because you guys are the core audience for this, right?
yeah,
Around the world, that's when their tastes seem to branch out into other countries. Where the
hmm
Japanese horror came into the fore, more interest sort of got into the old fashioned Euro horror, the giallo films, right? In
oh
the 1980s, I don't remember anybody talking about Dario Argento. I'm sorry, maybe
no,
I was just sheltered, but I'd never heard of Suspiria until it was on TV one night in the 90s, and it was all like, oh, this guy's a master, right? But yeah, I think Scream is a great franchise because it's the only slasher horror franchise that I can think of that actually has, including the Alien franchise, has a decent continuity.
yeah,
Right? Not even Star Wars has that. Star Trek,
um,
nothing. No other franchise has a proper A to B continuity. There's all the same characters. We don't change actors. It's like, oh, Patricia Arquette's not going to return for number four, so we need to get used to that,
yeah,
right? And regardless of how I feel about the quality of the sequels, you got to give it that. Got to give it that credit that it's kept the continuity. And
yes,
weirdly, and interrupt me, right? I'm probably going to go off like a runaway train again, right? But I recall in the 90s that people really turned their nose up at horror films. Candyman being the exception, right? When Candyman came out, see all your Freddy's Dead films that see when the Freddy film came out and it was reviewed by proper critics, they just went right garbage,
yeah,
right? It's just this is for heavy metal stoners to enjoy.
yeah.
People with no girlfriend like this. That you would hear Siskel and Ebert say stuff like this
Oh,
repeatedly.
they
These
went
are for,
hard after Friday the 13th all the time.
oh they even what was it they did? They took one of the director's phone number. They got the director's phone number and put it on their show. Apparently, someone told me
Oh,
this, so
wow.
don't quote me on this, but apparently Siskel and Ebert were so upset with the Friday the 13th movies that they published the um the director's phone number. Can
I
you
did not
believe that?
know that. That's crazy.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, the critics hated them. I used to read Empire magazine, which was massively popular in this country, and in Premiere as well. And it was 2 star for. We always get 2 star. Army of Darkness the same year. I know it's a comedy. 2 star for
Oh,
Army of
wow.
Darkness. Can you believe that? Which just means like check it out when that pretty much means check it out when it's on TV one day. You
Yeah.
know. Whereas I would give my right eyeball to go watch. Army of Darkness in the big screen, right? I'm sorry, right
I
now
would.
compared to a lot of stuff, it would be just be perfect. But then Candyman came out. Oh wow! Once that came out, it was on the proper shows. They were all like, this is interesting. This is not like other horror films. No, seriously, 4 stars, 5 stars. The acting in this is great. You would hear that conversation about a horror film, and I don't think I'd heard that about ever. Maybe Hellraiser. Hellraiser got a lot of praise, and
Yeah, that.
obviously Silence of the Lambs.
Mm,
Silence of the Lambs was more of a kind of procedural thriller. On top of that, it was a horror movie, but it had this
yeah,
cop like Manhunter. It's a police
absolutely.
procedural. But then Candyman, there's something about that film that I think quietly changed the game,
Yeah,
right? Because I think that's what people say. What is it they call it? It's when it's a horror film and it's more intelligent than other horror films. There's a name for it they come up with now. Can't remember.
oh, I can't
But,
remember.
uh, but yeah, there's this new name floating about. Because even the people under the stairs in this country, it kind of went under the radar. I
It
know
did.
it did well in America. It went to number one for maybe a week in America, but when it came out over here, it just went under the radar. Same with Serpent and the Rainbow. It never
Oh,
right. And
yeah,
these are meant to be a little bit more intelligent than just stalking teenagers
yeah.
around
Story
Crystal Lake.
behind it, like a real decent, a real well written story, and those are the ones that get shafted by critics, which don't make sense to me.
Mhm. But yeah, I think that in its legacy, Candyman did change the game because what was it? The following year, you got New Nightmare, and New Nightmare was like Scream. It was proto Scream.
Oh
This
yeah, it
this
was.
was the warm up act for Scream,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even though it's brilliant, right? Do you know what? Didn't like it when it first came out. New Nightmare. I was like, oh, I don't want this. I don't like that.
No,
Right? Didn't like the new Freddy makeup that they had for him and his glove. Didn't like his new glove,
I
and
have the glove either, honestly.
right.
Yeah,
Um, have you got yours to hand?
I have there.
Oh, let's see it.
You want to see it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no problem. I wish it,
Awesome.
but I might get one at a convention because they do make real ones at the conventions. But like,
Real ones.
yeah,
Uh, I take it it's not. It's blunt. Yeah.
they're real blades, but they're not sharpened.
Yeah. Oh, stick it on. Stick it on. Let's see it in action.
All right.
Sorry, just geeking out.
It's all good, man. I understand that. I'm a fan too, but like, yeah.
Oh wow, that's terrific. Terrific. I tell you something stupid. When I was a kid, I made one for myself, like with nails and stuff. It was awful, right? It was absolutely ridiculously stupid. But
Yeah.
yeah, just
Everybody wanted a glove when they were a kid. If you're a fan of Nightmare,
yeah,
you wanted a glove. You wanted that glove when you were a kid, no matter what.
it's weird, isn't it? I know. It's like I would never harm a fly, but
No.
and they didn't have the plastic one. I know you can get a cheap plastic one from
Oh, I didn't
like
even
a
have
novelty. No, they didn't have that at the time,
that.
right?
No.
A friend of mine had this. I mean, there was a lot of Freddy merchandise going around. I remember
Oh
where
my.
they had. Someone had a glow in the dark poster, 3D poster. He had did he not have a record? I'm sure he had an album.
There was a record of it that I don't have the record, but there was records that were released for Nightmare. So many. There have been so many that have been released. It's just nuts. Yeah.
And the sad thing is though, Wes Craven didn't see a penny of it.
No. He. I mean, when he made Nightmare,
Eventually, yeah,
they gave him back some of what he was deserved, but like that was so far in between of the years later. Like that was down the road. It's like he didn't get that right away. It was years later.
Freddy's stock had plummeted by that point. That's why they brought him back because it was a franchise that had been dead for what 3 years. I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
Freddy's Dead wasn't a very good swan song either in
No,
3D.
it didn't. The 3D didn't work, man. Like that, it wasn't. The technology wasn't there yet. Like there was too early for all of that stuff. It did not.
It was, it's the old color strip one that they used to
Yeah,
have.
I
I
have this.
know that you would get with a comic book.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I
Absolute garbage. See, I went to I went to see one of those movies because you remember if you recall, 1983 was the year of tacky 3D movies. There was
uh,
Amityville 3D, Friday the 13th 3D, and Jaws 3D.
Jaws.
So
Yeah,
I get to see the best one, Jaws 3D.
no,
I saw that in the cinema as a child. I fell asleep during the
what?
film, during Jaws 3D. Right, I saw like a couple of scenes of 3D with like a floating severed hand. It was garbage. I remember it. I only recall it had the guy Simon McCorkindale from Manimal, an
Oh,
English British actor. He's now passed. He was in Jaws 3D, but that's about it. And he gets eaten by a shark, as I remember. But yeah, back to yeah, a New Nightmare. I saw it a few years later. Got more in because people kept on saying, "No, no, no, you need to watch that again. It's really interesting," and it is. It is. It's really. It's a pleasure to watch, and even Wes Craven's acting's in it is actually kind of decent, right? Which is unexpected.
yeah. He was actually really good in the movie. I thought he was really well done. And I'm like, he's playing himself. It's just like,
Yeah,
you know, it
I
worked.
know it's wicked.
Yeah. The only thing about the film is strange for me that it's not really Freddy. Like he talks about this ancient evil that plays Freddy, and like it's getting out of the released out of like a genie out of the bottle. Like he loves
Yeah,
stuff like that. He uses metaphors, and like it's released into the real world. And like I love that this evil has been playing this character for so long that it's coming after the real actors that played in the movies. And it was an interesting story, man. It really is. It's really well shot.
got a question there from Retro Hawk. What do you guys think is the worst Freddy, and what is the best apart from the first one? Besides besides the original,
What's
what
the
do you think's
worst?
best and worst? Nightmare.
Okay, that's
Is that
good.
is that counting? Is that counting the remake, Retro Hawk? Do you count that remake as well? In your question,
Yeah, I'm dying to know that's part of it.
because that's that's kind of hanging on the edge of the cliff there, ready to go into room 101 and be lost forever. I have not seen Nightmare, the new night. Well,
Dude,
the
buddy,
remake,
buddy, you gotta watch it because I just want to know. I honestly, it's misery for me, but like I
no
want
remake. The original 7.
original seven.
Hmm.
Okay, so I love the series. I'm a huge Nightmare fan, but um, if I had to pick one that was the worst for me, this is going to be tough because I can honestly watch these, but if I have to go by what I don't watch the most, so um, oh boy, this is going to be tough. Um, okay, so I'm probably going to go with Freddy's Dead, even though I love the movie myself. But from a film making standpoint, it's not scary at all. Freddy lost that darkness. He's very comedic. It's over the top. He's flying on a broomstick with a witch hat. Like it's like the first
Yeah.
three movie, and you're just like,
He's saying kill me now. I'm just getting
I'm just
overly camp in it. It's like somebody just take me out the back and put me out my misery.
right. That, that scene where he comes out in the broomstick, I'm like minutes and he's wearing a witch hat. I'm like, oh shit, like we're in trouble. Like that.
Sorry, on you go. Retro Hawk says for him it's 5. See, I haven't seen 5. I still haven't seen 5.
You see, I was going between Freddy's Dead or Part Five because I do agree with that as well. Like that one was, I respected that film trying to go back to the dark gothic stuff, but like he's been funny for the last couple of movies. Like you can't bring that character back once you cross that threshold for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of agree with her. It's a woman, right? I don't want to just misrepresent somebody.
So there's a woman?
Is it? I don't know.
Retro Hawk, no.
Is a man? Well, hey man, I'm sorry. I would probably I'm going with Freddy's Dead, but like if I had to choose one, it would be if I had a couple of choices, it'd be 5 or 6 because those are the ones that to me,
Aye, that was the end of the road for Freddy, wasn't it? Because Freddy's Dead
yeah,
it was a mercy kill, wasn't it? It
yeah,
was like it was, but there are parts to. I've seen Freddy's Dead, and there are parts to it that does make me laugh. The part where he opens up the map and it just says you're effed right on the
Oh,
map, right?
that
And the bit where the guys can't hear and Freddy's doing all his dancing behind them, and you're right, the broomstick and stuff. And I do love the cheesy flashbacks where his dad is Alice Cooper, and
oh, that's great.
yeah,
I like that too.
oh,
There's some great stuff in it. The gamer joke he does with the power glove.
oh, of course, all the wee kiddies loved that. I mean, it totally knew its audience, wasn't it? It's like this is for 12-year-olds.
It's a fun movie, but like as a horror fan as I am, it's not scary. It's not.
Yeah,
I mean,
and his actual death was horrendous, where they had his face
it
pop
was.
out,
It's one of the worst in this.
isn't it?
I would say series. Like it is god awful, and like I would say even like I agree. The viewer with part five, his death scene is cooler in that than it is in Freddy's Dead. Like Freddy's Dead is just horrendous. It is so awful the way they kill him.
Mm,
So bad.
I know. See, but if you have to say the best outside of one,
The best.
three, it's got to
Um,
be three in it.
it would have to be Dream Warriors. I think
Absolutely.
was smart. It was smartly written. It was you had characters that you actually cared about. You cared about everybody, and like it wasn't one person anymore. It was all these kids teaming up to go against Freddy. They weren't alone, so to speak. And you got Nancy returning, which
Yeah, that was a big selling point for
and
me.
it's a great. It was a great setting for the movie. It was in a mental hospital where like they're. Nobody believes them. Everybody thinks they're crazy. They're not crazy. This man is coming after them, trying to kill them.
It felt, I think three feels like a kind of natural expansion on the first one, whereas two feels like a separate story. Even though
Yeah.
Jesse and his family have moved into that house and they try and tie themselves to the first one, it doesn't feel like the same animal, right?
No,
And I like two. I
I
probably,
do. I like to.
yeah, right.
It's
And
different.
it's more of a kind of possession story,
It is, and that's
right?
part as a fan of as a fan of the series and of the character of itself of Freddy. It doesn't make sense because Freddy can only get you in your nightmares. So how is he getting this kid if he's awake? So like,
Yeah.
but it's a fun film, man. I do enjoy.
Yeah, it's got some fun. The opening scene in the bus, love that.
That's a
That
great.
was class.
That's a lot of fun, man. I dig it.
And it's Robert England without the makeup for the first time.
The bus
That's
driver.
nice.
That was.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
because I was a fan of. That's another strange thing. My introduction to Robert England as an actor was not from A Nightmare on Elm Street. It was from the series, the
I
miniseries V,
yes.
as Willie,
I've never.
timid little
Oh,
Willie.
yeah.
I am just.
Mhm.
Oh, you mean you're lost? No, I am just. Right? Because he's pure rubbish at talking and stuff like that, and he's so cute and lovable. There's Freddy Krueger with like I think within 2 years of that show coming on, or 1 year, it was 83, I think it dropped, and then Nightmare was the following year. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my introduction to Robert Englund. When I seen Freddy Krueger, I never made that connection for years. Right? It
Wow.
wasn't until years later. It's like that's him. That's him. Because when you're a child, you believe that actor is a
Yeah.
villain. That actor is a hero,
Yeah.
right? Strange one for me, and I don't want to go off the topic of horror too much, but Mr. T, as
Mm.
a child, right? I saw Rocky 3 first, right? That's when he wins, right? He
Yeah.
celebrates that way, right? I was terrified of this man, right? And then
Yeah.
the A Team came on the television, and I'm supposed to like this character. The show is telling me, "Oh, look, he's smiling, right? He's passing out after drinking milk and stuff, right?" I couldn't enjoy that show because I couldn't separate Clubber Lang from B.A. Baracus. It
Wow.
was these were these. I just thought he was kidding us on. He was pretending to be good, but he's really evil. He was just evil, an evil man.
Man.
So stupid, right? And I felt that when I found out about Robert Englund and Freddy Krueger, that just broke my little mind, right? Absolutely,
Uh,
just shattered my whole universe. But let's go back to the crazy questions.
sure.
Or unless there's something else, keep going, man. Uh,
I'm cool.
keeps on resetting this dumb phone. Oh, the backwards and forwards. Uh, is there a subgenre of horror that you would like to see get a resurgence?
Um, I'm trying to think because like I think possessions come back quite a bit. We got like the ghost stories coming back quite a bit with the Conjuring universe and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think ghost movies go out. I think ghosts and vampires never go out of fashion.
No, no,
No,
still very much active today.
I think zombies are gone. I think we got. I think we
Yeah.
got forced with the last 20 years since 28 Days Later came out. And yeah, that's 20 years and all. It
Oh
was
yeah,
just nothing but zombie films forever, and it got so boring,
and The
right?
Walking Dead, like it's been going
Yeah,
forever.
I've never watched that.
I watched like 7 seasons, then I stopped. So
Yeah, I heard it ran out of steam. There's
it.
people that were, you need to see it, you need to see it. See, I'm a bit of a zombie purist. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
George Romero wrote the book on modern zombies, right? So unless it's like unless it's the Kentucky Colonel, then it's not fried chicken, right? If the Kentucky Colonel made a zombie film, right? Maybe I'll watch it. And
Right.
I'm not discounting Return of the Living Dead and the silly things, Shaun of the Dead and stuff like that, the comedies. But when it comes to real hardcore zombie films, it's got to have that George Romero, seal of approval
You
for
know,
me.
he was called the Godfather of zombies for a reason. You know what I mean? Like he
Yep,
started this. He really did start something here.
yep.
And
Why did we shoot them in the head? Because George says so. That's
mm,
it, right?
right,
If these shuffling zombies come in, you know what to do,
right.
right? You see these idiots panic in films. The Return of the Living Dead is funny when they're all like, "We don't know what to do, don't know what to do," right? You
No,
know, right? And it's like, "Oh, but we watched Night of the Living Dead, right?" And they're, "Oh, right, yeah."
oh
But and
yeah,
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Love that movie, Brains. But
too.
but yeah, George wrote the book on it, right? I mean, what's his face? Max Brooks, Mel Brooks' son. He wrote the book, The Zombie Survival. He also wrote World War. War, how do you guys Z? You say Z. We
World
say
War.
Z. World
Okay.
War. So we say Z, not Z.
Oh
Which they
wow.
shot here. Which they shot the opening scene here in Glasgow. Brad Pitt. Yeah. The whole
Really?
the whole city went nuts for a week. It was like, Brad Pitt's going to be in Glasgow. Oh!
Oh
Right?
wow.
Who cares? Right? Yeah, and yeah, that whole square that they're all running over. That's right the city centre here.
Oh, that
George
that's
Square. Yeah, and but anyway, I what Max Brooks, Mel Brooks' son. He wrote a book, The Zombie Survival Guide. So it's all just like how do you survive a zombie apocalypse? It's in this book, and it is just based on the teachings of George Romero. Well, of course,
that's
right?
cool.
You wouldn't go by anyone else's rules. I'm sorry, right? When they come up
Uh,
with new rules for zombies, I'm like, right, forget that, right? That sucks.
yeah,
George Romero or nothing else. But anyway, back. I'm rambling again.
you're fine.
Uh, subgenre that you would like to see have a resurgence.
Okay, I'm trying to think.
That's toughy. Hi there. Hi, Basic Autumn Queen. Thank you for coming. If you got a nice question, a nice horror question, we'll try and answer it for you.
I mean, basically, slashers hasn't gone anywhere. They're still very much active as.
Mm.
I mean,
See, you need to watch Horror Flicks with Nick. He's got a great video about how the slasher films they've been dead for a long time, and that what they do now is they sort of sneak the slasher films under the radar. That you'll see a horror film that will come out and it doesn't advertise itself as a slasher, but it is,
mm,
right. And I think he makes a good point for that,
I'll bet you
right?
that.
Because because that X film that didn't really advertise itself as a slasher, but everyone says it's a slasher.
Really,
Yeah. Have you seen that one? X with the blue
I
movie
that
actors go to
I
the.
actually pre-ordered it, so
All right.
I'm interested in watching that. Actually, I've heard mixed things, but like you gotta watch it yourself to see your own opinion. So,
Yeah. Well, I've not seen it yet myself. I need to give it a watch. I don't know why this one today, the what's it called? The sadness, the
that,
sadness. Yeah, that kind of came to the forefront of my mind because it had so much more buzz to it. More people were saying, "Oh, watch it, don't watch it, watch it, don't watch it," and that always gets my interest when a film is a bit more divisive. When
Yeah,
everybody's saying, "Go see it, it's the best film since sliced bread," I get suspicious. If it's the worst film ever, I get a little bit interested, depending. But if it's divisive, oh, I need to know. And that's where my curiosity button starts getting pressed. Oh my god, I saw it. Let me know how you like it. Okay. What did you think of it, Basic Autumn Queen X? Is it that name's a tongue twister. You can tell I'm not drinking. Uh, basi- if I say your name 5 times in a mirror, will you appear and
oh,
awesome. But I was gonna say, let's which one would I like to see get a resurgence? Have monster movies haven't really gone away, have they?
I mean, I don't know if this counts, but maybe like more creature feature films. Like we don't, I don't, I for me personally, I don't see a lot of those nowadays that I see. Um,
What what they were teasing a few years ago was a bit of a letdown when Universal they were promising that they were going to bring back all the old Universal monsters. They started with the Mummy and that tanked, right?
yeah,
And BAQ or Basic. I'll never call you Basic. BAQ. Oh, I like that. That's cool. Basic. and Anything but Basic. But um, what I was going to say is, oh yeah, I was kind of hopeful. I know that the Mummy sucked, right, and people were not digging it, but they were saying there was going to be an Invisible Man, a new Invisible Man, right? And I
yeah,
know that they did. Bloomhouse did an Invisible Man, but
yeah.
I love the old Claude Rains. I was talking about it with my partner today, actually. The power. Even the moon is afraid of me. The old Claude Rains Invisible Man. I that blew my mind when I saw it, and it took some persuasion because it was old 1930s. A friend of mine is like, "Oh, the Invisible Man." It's like, "Oh no, I'll settle for the Chevy Chase one, thank you." Right? And it was outrageous how brilliant it was,
Mm,
right? And
yeah,
I thought bringing that up because he was an absolute monster in this film. He just now I know that the recent one is more of a creepy boyfriend,
yeah.
the right sort of thing, stalker kind of thing. Whereas the Invisible Man, he caused train wrecks. He this guy was a mass murderer, and he went completely insane to the pure megalomania.
Oh, yeah,
That to see that on a big budget, Universal Studios budget. Ah, I was gutted. So yeah, I would like to see the Universal monsters all come back, all the way from Dracula to the Wolfman, and then they have their big smackdown, right?
that'd be cool.
Because the big crossover, because that was what they were promising. They were going to do the
Yeah,
Avengers with these characters, and I was a bit interested because the Mummy sort of extinguished it, but I was kind of they might get some of them right. They might get one or two of them right.
absolutely.
When they had like Russell Crowe and he was like some mad drunk Irishman when he turned into
Oh,
Mr. Hyde,
I,
right?
yeah,
It's like, "Oh." It's like this is Russell Crowe when he's not acting, right? They just filmed him between takes.
probably. Yeah, I see
He's
that.
like, yes, I'm a proper English gentleman. And it's like, okay, cut.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
You didn't like the 2021 Invisible Man? Okay, I still haven't seen it myself. BAQ. Bravo Alpha Kilo, Bravo Alpha Quebec. Uh, what was I going to say? What would you say is the best horror sequel and why? There you go.
Holy,
I know we're on Mastermind now.
oh
Who
man.
wants to Who wants to be a millionaire?
Okay, so mine personally, you know, um, best horror sequel. Holy sh. Okay, let me think. Okay, there's so many good sequels. Like there are so far and few that surpass the original, and like sometimes they don't surpass the original. It's just a good sequel with good writing, good characters, and then they build on the story arc. Okay,
Hmm.
uh, but if I have to choose one, I'm thinking like everything I've seen. Like Wes Craven was my favorite horror director of all time. Like I think the guy knew how to deliver a story. He knew how to
Yep.
show the camera. He knew everything about. I mean, he was a professor. He knew psyche, right? Um, Mine personally is going to be. I'm going to go with the shirt I'm wearing, Scream 2,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
I saw it when I was in the theater. I was 12 years old, and
12.
I was 12, and
Oh, perfect.
that was the only. I've seen all the Screams in the theater except the original. Okay,
Oh, bummer.
and that film made that was the only Scream film in the theater I jumped at. That one made me so tense. The opening scene with the Jada Pinkett Smith getting stabbed in the movie theater, surrounded by witnesses that could save her at any
Yeah.
moment. I don't know, it's a publicity stunt. Um, Randy getting pulled into that news van and stabbed to death, which was my favorite character. Watching him getting brutalized in front of me, like I jumped so much. I don't think it's better than the original. I think it's just
Mm.
builds more up,
Yeah.
and it's so much more than that first
Who's
film.
the character? Cotton. They
Yeah,
tease in the first one, and then they bring him more into it. So it feels like a kind of natural sequel, as
yeah,
opposed to like we need to make more money quick, right? And that opening scene um, was the equivalent of the first one with Drew Barrymore, which
yeah.
honestly, when I first saw that Scream, right, the first one on video cassette,
Me too.
I was looking forward to this film. This film had so much hype behind it. By the time it was out on cassette, right, it was just palpable, right?
Right.
So it had a lot to live up to in my expectations. But that opening scene, that was it. Wes Craven had just absolutely knocked it out of the park for me, and the rest
Oh
of the movie was
yeah.
perfect, right? In Scream 2, where Jada Pinkett Smith and
Omar Epps.
Omar Epps, that's right. They go to the cinema together, and I think they even talk about
Black
the
cinema and like black
yeah,
history.
all the sort of cliches and tropes, and it's funny that I loved that scene as well. It was brilliantly done, and it was funny that when Scary Movie came out a few years later, right, it totally picked up on the fact that Jada Pinkett's character was quite an annoying patron in the cinema because she was going, "Don't do that," and shouting at the screen. I can't stand that. You know, it's like quieten down, right? I'm trying to enjoy
uh,
the movie, right?
uh,
So in a way, you're kind of two minds. Oh, it's tragic to see her getting murdered like this, right? But you've got that kind of yeah, that quietens her down. And Scary Movie totally sent that up with Regina Hall. Was it Regina Hall?
yeah.
And she's like, just got this annoying voice. Wow, she's like laughing and stuff, getting
Yeah.
stabbed by everyone.
It's one
Brilliant.
movie.
But yeah, Scream 2 is I didn't even include that because I even gave you some suggestions. Um, See, for me, it's Psycho 2. Psycho 2.
That's a great one too. Yeah, I like Cycle 2.
Psycho 2 is so much fun. I mean, it just doesn't do what you expect it to do, and that is
No,
give you empathy for Norman Bates, and then it turns it on its head at the very end of the movie, like that, and we're
that,
right back to where we were.
that that's a great movie. I love Psycho 2. I think Anthony Perkins, man, he nailed that. He nailed that role. And like you said, I did feel bad for him in that movie. Like they're trying the two characters were trying to make him insane again. Like that is awful. Like he's trying to change and like better himself, and like you're trying to bring him back to that dark place where like you possibly kill people again. Like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah, it's the
great
pushing him to do that. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like that is weird. It's really warped. But I don't know if BAQ is still in the chat, right? But earlier on today, she released a video where she got this spooky crate with different novelty things in it. One of them was a Candyman T-shirt, and it was the painting from Candyman with the face, and it
Oh,
said,
that's
it,
wicked.
"Sweet, sweet to my sweet,"
Sweet
written
Sweet.
on it. Sweets to the Sweet, right? And
Oh
I hadn't
wow.
seen Candyman in so long, but I watched spookily enough, as you know, I watched Candyman today, and I forgot that was that was like painted on the wall. I'm not going to say what it was painted with, right?
Yes.
Right in the film, and it's just weird. It's just been on the tip of my tongue all week actually. Candyman, another YouTuber. I've been watching a lot of other YouTubers' videos on Candyman as well for some reason,
Yeah,
and but yeah, so when I saw that T-shirt, I was going, that's not very good. That doesn't make sense to me, right? But then no, it does because it's actually written all over the walls in Cabrini Green, and right, there's so much that I took away from it today. It's still that other movie, the whatever, the sadness, right? That's kind of disappeared. Yeah, it had a lot of energy and a lot of great deaths and stuff, but it's kind of dissipated. Candyman is he's still there,
yeah,
right? He's still there, and it's just an absolutely beautiful film, and I
yeah.
love. I think just that cinematography in it was just so I forgot just how sweet some of the shots are, right? You
Really great.
just they've got this real hypnotic movement with the camera
Hmm.
throughout the film, and I think that's what it does. Um, it really creates that presence, that foreboding presence of this character throughout the whole movie, and it's just absolutely wonderful,
It is
brilliant.
beautifully shot too. Like they,
I think Natty's gone, so I think we could talk about the ending to Candyman without upsetting people. We all seen Candyman. Anyone that's in the chat, right? Awesome, right? Too late. But I was a bit puzzled at first. I was like, why is he doing this? Right? Uh, I remember that, why is he punishing these people? Because that's the thing about Candyman that struck me way back when,
yeah,
is it doesn't go for the obvious tropes. Probably the only trope that it goes through for cinema is the black best friend, right? That our best friend
yeah,
is a woman of color. That
yeah,
is probably the only trope that Candyman digs up that you could accuse it of. But other than that, you're right about him. He is a victim. He's this character and Candyman, but taking his he's not taking vengeance like directly to the right people, right? That's the strange thing. He's haunting Cabrini Green because that's where his ashes were scattered, right? Simple
yeah,
as that. Whereas if it was the Fog, John Carpenter's the Fog,
yeah,
right? Those guys are going after the people that deserve it,
y-
right? Because they're holding all the wealth that they stole from them, and they're coming for that cross with all the wealth that's in
yeah.
that cross. So it's a real act of vengeance and retribution with them.
Abs-
Whereas in Candyman, he is just terrorizing these people because that's what he's there to do, is terrorize that entire area. And that I felt was quite interesting because he's kind of within himself so misguided, right? He doesn't have that sort of efficacy.
No, yeah,
He has control over this. He's like he has no absolutely no control over what is what this. I suppose you could call it a curse. That's.
yeah,
But see, what I was still it takes me a while. I need to watch films again and again, and Candyman, I'm going to binge that, right? Because there's just so much to enjoy. But they see the relationship between him and Helen Lyle. Is she, without reaching for the Dracula storyline, is she a reincarnation of this woman, or
I felt like he was destroyed in a way, and like in this, and like it's like Helen like became. Uh, I like she was like reincarnated in him, but like it wasn't him. It was Helen. Like he was killed. I feel like he's, which is weird because you watch the sequel and you're like, how the hell does this work? But like,
never mind the sequels, or
yeah,
unless it's 2021. 2021 felt like a real natural, continuation, and it was reaching for that
it
with
was. Uh,
Anthony McCoy.
I do like I did enjoy that movie as well. I will say that I like we talked earlier, the original is I think superior. It's just something beautiful about that movie. I'm not saying there's something that's beautiful about the new one. There's some great shots in the new one. There's some really great, interesting shots. Like yeah, I don't know if you remember, but like the scene, like it's a far away
Yep,
scope shot, and she gets lifted up in her apartment building, and
that's
she
the if you watch my review of Candyman, that's the one I bring up where
yeah,
killed by some invisible entity, where there's this shot outside the apartment. Exactly. I
I
I
love
actually
that.
actually stood up and, well, almost applauded. The cinema was empty, besides my colleague, or my buddy
Hmm.
that came with me to see it. Excuse me. That was that was an incredible shot. Also, what and there's a big difference, right? One thing the original Candyman is sorely lacking in is any form of humor. The original is completely humorless. No problem with that,
Nope.
right? The
Nope.
the the the, the follow up 2021 is got we is peppered with comedy here and there. And I can kind of see that as Jordan, maybe just because Jordan Peele originally as a comedian, right, from Mad TV
Right.
and Key and Peele and all that stuff. I feel like he's had a hand in that. He's
Yeah.
thought, let's have it's not done heavily, right? It doesn't distract, it doesn't take you out of the film. But there was one particular scene where Anthony McCoy, he finds out that there's been a murder at the art gallery, right? And he's like, he's kind of glad because it means he's going to get all this publicity for his art thing, and that's
Yeah.
what and he says that openly, and the people just look at him like, what is wrong with you? You know,
Yeah.
that got a laugh. And
Mhm.
the also the death scene just before that he's talking about, this this woman's wearing a Joy Division t-shirt,
Oh
right?
wow.
And
Yeah.
she's moaning about Joy Division and their famous song, "Love, Love will tear us apart again," right? Who tears people apart? Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Is and the other characters kind of criticizing her for liking Joy Division, and I'm thinking to myself, is Jordan Peele not a Joy Division fan here? Is he sitting there going, "Nah, he can't beat, can't beat Prince, right? He can't beat Megadeth or whatever music he likes, right? It doesn't matter."
Right.
But he probably had a bad experience with Joy Division. Probably when he hears that song, it just makes him want to vomit, and thought, "I'll kill this character for being a Joy Division fan,"
Probably.
right? And I got
Yeah.
some humor out of that.
Yeah. Me too.
But let's just really loved Candyman today. The
Yeah.
best experience seeing it, because, like I said, I was too young to really understand some of the subtle
Oh,
details.
me.
Wasn't
Oh,
looking for them,
yeah.
right? I was expecting a Freddy clone. That's what I expected, right? I was expecting a Nightmare on Elm Street clone. Poor man's. When you see that, it's like, oh, this is a poor man's Nightmare on Elm Street. It is nothing like it at all. And that's what I liked. It avoided the cliches. It avoided, like, it wasn't, when you think of Candyman, you don't think of the kill scenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are kill scenes in it. I mean, that's the thing. Um, most horror films, they really like that new one today, The Sadness. It just lingered on it, just like, let's see the guts fly, right? And that's fair enough, right?
Yeah.
There's, and same with Halloween Kills, where the guy actually jumped, where the person they mistook for Michael Myers
Oh man.
had took a plunge off the building. Let's see the gore, right? And in any other film, they wouldn't show the body hitting the ground, right? If it was in a regular movie, it would you wouldn't see the. But because it's Halloween Kills, we want to see the gore, right? Whereas when I did like the fact that when Helen's friend did get killed, right, it was all done off camera,
Yeah.
all of it. It
Also.
gave her, I think it gives. See, when a character is killed off screen, it gives them some dignity.
Mm-hmm.
That whole kind of thing that, if someone was really brutally wounded
Mm-hmm.
and they've got a closed coffin because it gives them more dignity. And I think when a character is killed in a horror film and they're done off screen, it's the same way,
Yeah.
right? That's what I got from that, because she was a lovely character. She was a
I,
really good,
yeah. I cared about her, and
yeah, yeah, and it because
the aftermath of her death is pretty brutal too. What you see when they find her, it was pretty gnarly. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, the camera shot,
Yeah.
yeah, the camera work when she wakes up with the dog killed.
Oh man.
That shot is just, oh wow,
Oh.
absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Just the camera just sort of floats around, and I know they do a lot of aerial photography throughout
Yeah.
Chicago as well. I mean, see that the University of Illinois. Is that what it looks like from the? I mean, obviously you don't fly over it often, but was that
Yeah,
the real? Is that the real building? Yeah,
yeah,
it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. They did, besides Cabrini Green, which is no longer there. It
yeah,
did make Chicago look lovely,
yeah.
and and, it, and it's interesting that the original short story, The Forbidden, was originally set in Liverpool and
Oh man.
in the UK, right? Well, that's every city I think around the world has got a place like that.
Oh,
Some
absolutely.
ghetto.
Yeah.
We call it a council estate, housing estate. That's what they call it. We had this one in Glasgow called Sight Hill, where it's
Oh
just
wow.
these tower blocks.
Okay.
And what they see, instead of it being for African American people, the way that that film depicts it, it's more for immigrants. We got refugees coming from Syria, wherever wars happening, and they pour into UK on boats. That's what they do. They stick them in these housing development places, right?
Oh
Which
wow.
are the equivalent of a Cabrini Green, right? Because
Yeah.
it's just and they eventually took that place down as well. But
Interesting.
how you feeling? Are you all right? You looking a bit? You
I'm good.
you good? You
I'm
you
good.
want to keep going? Anytime, just time out. I won't.
Oh, till 8 o'clock. It's 7:21 now, so I'm still good to go.
8 o'clock. You
Yeah.
want to cut right? 7:21. So that's 2 hours. Thank you. I really appreciate you giving me this time. And okay, here's another one. Who's your favorite all time? What's your all time favorite horror movie? Final Girl, and why? Do
Oh jeez.
you know what
Uh
I'm gonna do? Do you know what I'm gonna do?
yeah.
I'm gonna take a leak, right? Using your parlance. I don't even know how to mute and all that. Right, just mute, right?
I think
And
so.
I'll be 2 seconds, right?
Okay, man.
Right, thanks.
Interesting. There's people in this chat. I'm sorry I can't see you, so forgive me. Hmm. Hmm.
And we're back.
Right.
Oh, dear. Great chat tonight, Retro Hawk. Thank you. Excellent. Well, he had a question actually. Well, he did have a question. Was it a question? Craven's Deadly Friend was a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That basketball death. That's I always
Oh
just
man.
think of the
I,
Mummy Fratelli from the Goonies getting a basketball smashed off her face. That's it. To me, the mad
there's
BB.
people that hate that movie, but there's people that always tell me, "Oh, I remember that death scene." Though I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Was it not one of those kind of? Was it not one of those ones that Craven didn't get final cut on,
No,
like
uh,
Hills of Ice 2?
yeah, he kind of disowned that film. He disowned Vampire in Brooklyn, Cursed. Hmm.
Oh yeah, no, he was cursed. That's the thing. He was cursed. He had so much misfortune. I would say next to Richard Stanley, Wes
Mm.
Craven was one of those directors that just seemed to fall on his face. But when he landed on his feet, oh boy, he landed, didn't he? He
Oh
he
yeah,
landed. It was like Concorde flying in for a landing with the champagne bottles popping. Awesome. Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. Those two, and House of Eyes, People Under the Stairs.
oh yeah.
I'm not not mad on Last House on the Left. I did a talk with the I Am the Ice Lord. He's a YouTuber. We talked about Last House on the Left, because that's 50. That's
Wow.
50 this year. Wow, and it still creeps. That really disturbs me. That one, uh, just the thought of it. Even the song, "The Road Leads to Nowhere." That gives me chills. Oh yeah, Shocker.
Shock.
Yeah,
That's
Shocker
oh,
is underrated,
yes, it is very much so.
right? That is a great. I would love to see them bring. If we talk about remakes, I would bring back
Oh
Shocker.
yeah, Horace Pinker is a great character, really great character.
That was it. That was his desire though, was to create a new Freddy because he didn't own the rights on
Yeah,
it.
and
So,
he was tired of Freddy. He was tired of Freddy.
oh yeah, the soundtrack, Megadeth, and what's his name, lead singer for Kiss.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, loads of stuff. There are loads of good stuff in that. That's that. I can't sleep tonight till I figure that out. But yeah, Shocker's a barrel of laughs. But yeah, back to the question. I don't see.
I, I,
Final girl.
I'm gonna go with personally. I'm gonna go with Laurie Strode. I thought she was the girl next door, right? Like she was really the sweet girl next door. Like, listen, she tried drugs, she tried pot for the first time. And guess what? She never touched it again. She was a virgin the whole movie. Like, and like, I knew girls like this when I was in school. Like, I really did, and like it related with me. I'm like, this is someone you can relate to and that you knew in school. And she was a fighter. She wasn't a quitter. She was terrified beyond belief, as anybody would be in that situation, being chased by a homicidal maniac with a knife. Um, but yeah, I would go for Laurie Strode. And like, listen, I love Nightmare, but Halloween's my top second favorite franchise of all time. Like, I love the Halloween series. I love Laurie Strode. I really do.
Hmm. I've got to agree with you there. And do you know what's really nice as well
Mhm.
is her story's not over, right? She's like James Bond,
Yeah,
right? I know she's been absent for a long period, but she came back, and we've had different iterations which are questionable. I mean, H2O, I liked H2O when it came out. I've not seen it in a while, but I like the I like the new Laurie Strode, the sort of almost Sarah Connor version of her, which they tried to emulate with that Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they brought Sally Harris. Oh, that was awful.
oh, that was not good.
The movie had its moments. The bus scene was funny, right? I mean, those people were made out of strawberry jelly, right? I
Oh,
mean,
bro, you know us all. Great
what
movie.
was that chainsaw? What kind of blade was on that? Right? It
Oh
just cut
no,
people like butter.
it was pain.
Yeah, I was enjoying that moment. But that to me, that's what that'll be remembered for, is that bus scene. Oh, remember that? Which Chainsaw Massacres did you like? The one with the stupid bus where he's like comes in. That'll be the one, won't it?
Yeah,
But Jamie Lee Curtis, and that's the thing we've got to remember. She's acting royalty. Her
yeah,
dad was Tony Curtis,
Curtis. I mean,
right? And Janet Lee, right?
Janet.
It's like Carrie Fisher. She's acting royalty. She's been brought up in that environment her whole life, so she
Yeah,
brought that pedigree to Halloween, right? And
absolutely.
the body of work that Jamie Lee Curtis has put out since and
Mm,
other films is pretty incredible. I think she's a terrific actor, right?
I,
And I'm not criticizing Heather Langenkamp or Neve Campbell or any of those
oh, no.
guys, right? But Jamie Lee Curtis is just an outstanding actor. I watched this. It was actually kind of a terrible rom com with her and who's the other one? Sigourney Weaver, right? It was like a kind of family rom com that she was in,
Mm-hmm.
where they were kind of bitter enemies. I can't remember what it was called, right? It was out
Right.
about 10 years ago. But you know what? The movie was terrible. But seeing them together, seeing Sigourney Weaver and Jamie Lee Curtis together,
I
it was
think
worth the price of admission.
I've seen the movie you're talking about.
They're
Like
like rivals, like old school rivals or something.
they have children.
And
They have children that are fighting with each other as well.
yeah,
In that,
but see the scenes they have together. See, there's a part where they're like fighting and they go into a swimming pool, and Sigourney Weaver gives her this look, right? And you feel the weight of years in this look, right? And
oh yeah,
this movie does not deserve this kind of acting, right? This
no,
movie, this movie should just not exist. I'd rather watch these two actors have coffee,
Yeah,
right? Let's just turn off the movie. Let's just watch Sigourney Weaver and Jamie Lee Curtis have coffee. And that's what I'm saying is that she brings that power to Laurie Strode that the other actors don't have,
yeah.
right?
Like you said, she is royalty because let's be honest, she left the horror genre for a long time and then she returned in 97 or 97, 98 for H2O. She left again. Well, she did it. She did Resurrection, but we don't talk about that one. She comes back years later and comes back to the franchise. Like, not a
Yeah,
lot of actors do that.
yeah.
Not,
It's clearly like it's when things aren't really. That's always been her sort of trump card. That if she's not getting the parts, and it's so hard for women,
mhm.
right? It's always been once they turn a certain age, they just become redundant,
Yeah,
and it's
that's pretty crappy too.
awful, right? Because
Yeah,
she was in True Lies, right? She was doing some really good Fish Called Wanda. She was in big films. Jamie Lee Curtis. She was a popular actor,
she
and
was.
then when that started to dry up in the late 90s, she's like, right, time to bring out the Laurie Strode card. I'll come back as Laurie Strode, right?
Absolutely.
Because that was the thing when Halloween 4 came out. She was like, no, I'm not coming back for that,
Yeah.
and she was smart not to, right? I mean, Donald Pleasance, he wasn't a busy actor, so at that point, I mean, but but anyway, in any case, yeah, Laurie Strode all the way.
Absolutely. I
Because
agree.
as a character, she does have a continuity to an
Hmm.
extent, even though she's been a bit jumbled up and they've given her a brother that she never had before all of a sudden. But
Ah,
you know, let's go on to another topic. 'Cause we've still got half an hour. Still got half an hour of your time. I'm gonna get my money's worth.
all
The
right.
whole. uh, let's go back. Let's see. Which living horror movie director would you like to see come out of retirement and take another swing at the bat? Got a few suggestions for you just to kind of get your mind going, right? John Carpenter,
Ooh,
Peter Jackson, Sam Raimi. I know he's doing Doctor Strange, but he rarely does horror. Bernard Rose, Clive Barker. There's just some. If you got any others, feel free.
oh, geez, those are good. Those are good ones. Personally, I love all these people. Um, but I am gonna say I think Clive Barker because he's only done I think 3 films, if I'm correct. He did Hellraiser, Nightbreed, and then he did Lord of Illusions. I
Oh yeah, I've never
no,
seen that.
oh my, it's brilliant. And that was it. And like, he left directing me wanting more. If that was his plan, he was smart man because I like his eyes as a director. I love Hellraiser. I love Nightbreed. I don't hate any film he has directed, and he's done 3. I don't hate any of them. I think he's a really talented filmmaker, and he's a brilliant writer. That would be my choice. I like his art. I like his films. Yeah, definitely.
See, I got a question there, Mr. Robin Lover, who's one of my subscribers, right? Can
Mhm.
anyone do a modern horror soundtrack quite like Marco Beltrami? His Quiet Place music scares me senseless and also makes me cry. I have to confess, Mr. Robin Lover, I still haven't seen A Quiet Place.
Oh, geez, it's
Yeah, I mean it's
a good film.
I can't give you a comparison, but maybe Josh can give you what his take on that. So the question is can anyone do modern horror soundtrack quite like this man who did The Quiet Place?
I don't think so because I have seen A Quiet Place, and that score he did is very unsettling and it's very chilling. And the movie itself for PG-13, like it got under my skin a little.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Mr. Robin Lover. I will get on it. This is so many films out there. I've still never seen. There's so many classic films. I mean, Seven Samurai. That's been on my list forever.
Oh wow,
I know. Just like there's so many supposed masterpieces that I've just not watched, right? And it's because Weekend at Bernie's 2's back on. Oh, brilliant, right? No, but yeah, he is mentioning that Hellraiser is demented and it's still quite sexy. Laugh out loud. But
it is.
you missed yourself earlier because I did bring up the fact that Doug Bradley back in the day was a sex symbol in Japan in the pinhead costume to the Japanese. That was just like the most desirable man in the world. Unbelievable, unbelievable. You know,
Hmm.
I can't think of any other horror icon who's reached sex symbol status, right? I mean,
mean,
Tony
yeah.
Tony Todd. I don't think he was really making the ladies. He wasn't making the ladies scream the way that that.
With Doug was, yeah, I agree with
Yeah, but that's or the men for that matter. I mean, it's not. Uh, I was going to say as well, but yeah, director for me is Peter Jackson. I would love to see Peter
you.
Jackson make go back to his splatter roots of Bad Taste and Brain Dead,
Oh,
right? Because Brain or Dead Alive, as it's called in your country, am I right? Dead Alive. The just that sheer ridiculous New Zealand comedy.
oh man,
When Bad Taste got shown on British television for the very first time, it wasn't until the mid 90s, right?
right.
And I just I was smoking a cigarette while watching it. I was smoking a cigarette while watching. I could not smoke because I could not stop laughing. Just how ridiculous the film was with the
Huh.
we're eating the brain with a spoon and all that, and the bit where they're passing around all this gunge that they've all got to eat, right? And the guy's pretending to be one of the crazy aliens and all that, and it was so that like the Evil Dead, it had that handmade, low fidelity quality, which
Yeah,
wouldn't have existed without Sam Raimi. Without Sam Raimi, Peter Jackson would probably be working in McDonald's right now, right?
I
It's
agree.
just right. It's just incredible. But going, what's he saying now? Terence, you still my horror Scottish king. Love Doug's story about going for lunch on set, and he wondered why they were a bit rude. Why they were a bit rude. He was out of pinhead sorry. Blah, blah, blah. He was out of his pinhead makeup, and they'd no fucking idea. Oh, sorry, they had no effing idea who he was. All right. Oh, Doug's story about. All right, okay. So, so he's on set, and it's because he's not in makeup. They're like, "Who are you?" You know, because he's not in his makeup. The whole rest of the cast and crew are used to this guy being dolled up like this. So he's walking about the set, and it's like you would probably think this guy's just snuck onto the set, wouldn't you?
Uh,
You know, right? Oh, that's cool. I'd not didn't know that story. But going back to Clive Barker though, right? In the 1980s, British cinema was dead. It was a dead format, pretty much. You had the occasional film like Chariots of Fire or whatever. It's like, oh, the British are coming. Oh, great. Gandhi or something. No, they would do that. They would actually say, oh, the British film industry is getting this resurgence. Never happened,
wow.
right? It was dead in the water the whole decade. But then Clive Barker comes on the scene, right? This guy, it felt at the time as a horror fan, besides Reanimator, Hellraiser, it just felt like it came out of nowhere. Although Clive Barker had been a writer for a couple of years that had been published, but the guy had been working at it for years and years and years. I think he even tried his hand as a male prostitute. He was a male prostitute at one point. He was unemployed forever, and he did theatre productions with Doug Bradley. And one of the theatre productions, I think, one of the sort of moments in it, the descriptions of this character is that they're buried up to their neck in feces with their head on fire, just like crazy imagery. And
Wow.
he would take the most ordinary places in his work. He would take the most ordinary places, like like I'm trying to think what you would call it, like a kind of leisure centre, sort of spa. They would take
Oh,
something like a boring spa and turn it into the most terrifying place that you could imagine. Unlike Stephen King, where Stephen King seems to have a lot of this kind of rural quality to his stories, where it's sort of based in Americana, where we've got the old 1957 Plymouth Fury. It's all these kind of things that Stephen King remembers from pop trivia that he sort of bleeds into his stories, and they're always most of his work set in Maine, this
yeah,
one place. Whereas Clive Barker, he would take his story into another. He would just take the most mundane British things and just turn them into an absolute nightmare.
yes,
And that had never been seen like that. You know, Britain, we had a thriving film industry in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 1970s. That was it. It just crashed and burned. We were making the worst kind of sex comedies. That was what was making money in the UK. That you wouldn't honestly want to sit through these films. They're boring, right, and
yeah,
unfunny. It was just an excuse for people to see boobies on the big screen because we had no other remit for that. But Hammer horror, I mean, that's universally beloved,
Yeah.
right? From the 50s into the early 70s, Hammer horrors was a big deal, and the was it Amicus horror was kind of the cheaper ones. They were British as well, and even Ealing Studios made horror films, but then that was dead, and Clive Barker was just that one last shot in the arm, and it was a shame. I don't think he really, as a film director, he never fulfilled his potential, and that's because of Nightbreed. Nightbreed was a bad
Yeah.
experience for him.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy with that. But like, to be fair, the studio Warner Brothers, I think it was, or Morgan Creek, they distributed it as a slasher film. It's not a slasher. It was else entirely, and like he was really upset over that whole experience. He was not happy.
No, no, I don't blame him. But that's the thing is he's clearly not one of those guys that like Wes Craven that
Hmm.
when he falls off the horse that gets right back on again.
Yeah.
Or Larry Cohen for that matter. Larry Cohen got sacked from a movie, I the Jury, a Mike Hammer novel turned into a movie. He wrote the screenplay and he was directing it. He got sacked from that movie as the director,
Oh wow.
right? And see, a week later, he was shooting Cue the Winged Serpent. He had that ready to go.
Oh
And
wow.
the script wasn't even finished, but the beauty is he's script writer and director, so he could write the script while he was making the movie.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? That was the beauty of Larry Cohen. It's like I can change this script. I don't need to go and pay a bunch of screenwriters because he
Yeah.
was one.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was when they got another director to do I the Jury, they both got released roughly about the same time. Cue the Winged Serpent outgrossed it, kicked its ass at the box office, so he got the last laugh and all. And it's
That's great.
I the Jury's an okay cop detective thriller. It's right, but Cue the Winged Serpent's an absolute classic, right? It's just amazing B movie. Or Confessions of a Plumber, 70s UK's finest. Yeah, my favourite was Confessions of a Pop Performer. That was the best one. I can't believe I'm having that conversation, but the because those films are embarrassing. But yeah, Clive Barker. I mean, it was our loss. But then he goes off. He goes off to produce Candyman,
Yeah,
right? Right with Bernard Rose, and I don't know what it would have been like if Clive Barker had directed it. I've got a funny feeling that Clive Barker wouldn't have been able to rein himself in. I think that there is a real kind of flamboyance, and I'm not talking about his sexuality here, right, or anything like that. I mean him as a director.
yeah,
The Hellraiser and Nightbreed. There's a lot of kind of it, it's hard to put because Nightbreed's difficult because it's been a while, but Hellraiser I've seen multiple times,
oh
and
yeah,
it just kind of it really stands out and really I don't know. I don't know what Candyman would have been like if Clive Barker was in the director's chair. But I mean, as a producer, he would have had a strong hand in it, right? I'm sure there would have been a
absolutely.
real collaboration there.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think
And but yeah, you're right. It's I would love to see him come back
me too.
to actually direct, not to just co-produce or co-screenwrite, to actually sit in that chair and call the shots.
Oh
I
yeah,
would that would be fantastic for me.
absolutely me.
And because he's a total horror legend. He really is,
Oh yeah,
and he? It just and just try to see if there's any. I think we've really bled them all, man. Right, okay. One last question, right, and then we'll call it a night.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
What was she saying? Sorry, Robin Lovers. Clive Barker is a genius, guys. Maybe it was 1990, and I am not certain, but remember the British psychological horror Paper House that came out of nowhere, and I adore it. That's Bernard Rose as well, that directed Paper House. You seen it?
I don't think I have. No.
It's supposed to be brilliant. Oh, Clive Barker rules. The Ice Lord is here.
Mhm.
We've hit an ice Lord. Right? And yeah, Paper House. It came out of nowhere, and I adore it. I've always wanted to see that, especially after I rewatched Candyman today,
Mm.
and just wow, right? It felt like a brand new film. I know that it had that '90s cinematography in the sense that the film stock that they used, right? You ever
Yeah.
get that where, for instance, where you watch a film from a certain era. It's shot on a particular film stock. It's been printed a certain way, so it
Hmm.
has that look about it. Like I watched Sarafina from 1992 a few months ago. Right, I know this is an African set musical with Whoopi Goldberg, but it had this tinge throughout it that I used to call the Tony Scott tinge, right? Where he
Oh,
had that kind of purple shade at the top of the clouds that you see in
yeah.
Top Gun, Days of Thunder. It was a Tony Scott kind of signature. That was in Sarafina, which he had nothing to do with. And so it had that 90s vibe. And I don't know if that was just a common thing. It's like, let's make it look like a Tony Scott movie, even though we don't have jet engines in it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's Candyman had that. I'm not saying it had that look, but it had that 90s cinematography to it that was beautiful. And great chat, fun. Paper House is like the others. It's beautiful, but it's scary at FAF. I need to see it. I remember seeing the trailer for it, and so many people have told me to get on it. Just like A Quiet Place as well. I
Mm.
really feel so embarrassed that I've not seen these films. You have no idea. I mean, I used to be embarrassed for talking about films because that's all I would do, right? Like, there could be a giant plane crash, and I'm like, oh, but who directed that one? Shut up, right? And right? I mean, I've been told to shut up more times than anyone, and I don't care. It's what was that question I asked? I had a final question. It's probably a bit of a downer. Ah, see, this dead air I can't stand. I should just play the Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. What sort of for? It still looks the same. Aye, no, yeah. And Halloween ends, right?
Yeah.
No, Halloween kills. They had Michael Myers stare out of his sister's bedroom window blankly, right?
Huh.
And it seemed to hint at something, for me anyway, something supernatural. What do you think that is all about?
I don't know. In Halloween Kills, they kept saying something about he just wants to go to that one room and just look out the window all the time. And I'm just like, well, let him go look in the room then. If he's killing people, let him go to the room. But
Yeah.
there is a very supernatural vibe about it. I think you're 100% right on that. I don't know. I think we're gonna find more about it when we see ends.
Hmm.
There's theories. I mean, it's like I don't want to spoil the ending because there could be people that haven't seen it, but like, Laurie's looking through the window, and then you see
Oh,
Michael looking through the mirror, and like,
I
is
was
there?
like, don't you finish right now? Come on, it's just about to get good.
Yeah, and you're just Jim.
Yeah, I
But
know.
it could be like just some kind of link they have with each other. I don't know. Like it's what I felt like it was. It was some kind of um this supernatural link. Like I got like a Halloween 5 vibe from it almost with Jamie.
Oh
Like,
no.
it felt like
Oh, hold on.
Mm.
Remember in the 2018
Yeah,
uh, Halloween where I was talking about this the other night with the Ice Lord, right? Right, is that Michael Myers when he's being transported in the bus and she's there to watch him being transported, and she has this moment of sort of we would say PTSD,
yeah,
right? Which I loved. I loved that moment because it bigged up Michael Myers even more, and it also kind of set up that she's not got over this 40 years, and this is still frightened her to her core, and they're acting right. It was a silent scream. I remember. I may be wrong, right?
yeah.
Because I've not seen it since it came out in the theater. But yeah, it could be maybe there's something between them. That would be really interesting. But I mean, funnily, I thought maybe he's just having a moment of clarity, right?
Could be
Where he's
that
just like,
too. Yeah,
where
like
he's just hearing like some like sweet happy music that just thinks, oh no, what have I done, right? What have I done, right?
did I do
You
that?
know. Takes him right back to being a little child where he just first stabbed his sister and he's like, oh,
That
oh.
that could be a thing too, man. That could be 100 correct to what you just said.
But there's been a bit of chatter going on about that. See, that's we should have been talking about that instead.
Mm,
Can't. Sorry, it's just all these pop-ups that keep coming up, and I can't see the chat. Eh, favorite period. Sorry. Halloween quilt. Sorry, I can't see this every time I scroll up. But Halloween Kills was messy but underrated. Yeah, it was kind of aimless. I mean, it was hollow, but it was just a lot of fun. I felt it was like an
yeah,
adrenaline rush. It was like an adrenaline rush, right? And there
it
was a
was.
brilliant scene in it. See when they all surround him and they're all beating the crap out of Michael Myers. I wanted him to get up and start kicking ass. I've never felt that in my whole life for this character, right? But I was waiting for Mickey from the Rocky movies going, "Get up, you stupid son of a bitch!" Right? Mickey loves you, right? And then just like, or get the Popeye spinach,
Uh,
because that's pretty much what he did, didn't he? You know,
it
I mean, it was great. I have to admit, I
was.
think Michael Myers will kill himself. That's the only thing he hasn't done. Yeah, just maybe sitting on his couch like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon 2, gonna swallow a bullet. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I mean, he's had his head cut off. He's been set on fire. Been shot, stabbed. Just I don't know.
You can do to a body. It's been happening.
Hung, drawn, and quartered. Right. Put
Yeah.
them, put all the cut them into different little bits and put them all in separate places all over the world. But then you'll get some dastardly, evil like this is Donald Pleasance's grandson turns up and he's like, I need to find all his little creepy bits, and put them all together so we can make another bloody sequel.
Uh,
That's pretty much it for Michael. That they really need to put the guy. They need to put the guy down, right? The promise that's going to end, right? It's gonna.
well,
What is it?
this new timeline it will end, but I mean that probably make more sequels down the road, like later. I mean, I.
Yeah, but that's going to be a universal eye roll right there, isn't it? As soon
Hmm.
as they bring him up, I mean, they need to stick. If they bring him back, they need to stick him in space, just like they did with Jason, right? And Jason, for me, Jason worked in space. Weirdly,
Hmm.
Jason X is. See. I know I've told you this before. I'm not a big Friday man,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th guy. I mean, I can enjoy them. They're fun. I enjoy watching them for the cliched nonsense, and the deaths are funny. Some of
Absolutely.
them, the folded bed one, the
Oh,
boxer on the roof. I mean, that guy's neck was made of breadsticks, right? How did what kind of what kind of right hand did
was.
why was Jason Voorhees not heavyweight champion after that? I don't know, right? It's just,
True.
but the but Michael Myers, yeah, they've got to do away with them somehow. But we're getting more chatter here about Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Aye, we need to come back and do a real Halloween SmackDown then, eh?
Oh, I
Time
forget.
for you just asked me once, saw spam if thought the two John scenes was John is an actor. All right. Are you talking about the in Halloween Kills? Yeah, I didn't think it was anti-gay. I just thought it was lazy. See the two guys that were apparently from Mad TV. So I didn't watch Mad TV, right? I've seen a couple of sketches on YouTube. We didn't get it over here, but the two gay characters that moved into the Myers house,
Yeah.
right? I criticized them in my review because I felt they were lazily written. Right? It was just the fact that they kind of sent it home with the decor,
Hmm.
right? It was the fact that were they listening to. I'm trying to think with the music they were listening to, not just the music, but the decor of the house. I think it was kind of. It was meant to kind of imply that Michael Myers was a bit homophobic, which he wasn't. He just kills people indiscriminately, right? That's what I like about him.
Yeah.
He's a he's an equal opportunities murderer. Whereas Freddy, on the other hand, right? And I'm talking about Freddy versus Jason here, where he makes that dark meat. Right? He's like, oh sorry there, Freddy's got his wee MAGA hat on there all of a sudden. Obviously, he's got to pull that one, into Freddie was always a
Yeah,
bit the pure, yeah. But so they accuse people who show Elvis of anti-gay as gay horror fiend. I think it's dumb anyway. Yeah, it's a dumb movie, right? I'm not going to be absolutely offended by it. I just think if you're going to represent gay characters in a mainstream movie that lots of people are going to go to see, then give them a bit give them a bit more credibility. I think for a
yeah,
mainstream film, if it's yeah, and Halloween Kills was an event. It was a big event movie. We were all talking about it for a year.
yeah,
Uh, the scene I think you were asking me, and that's absolutely reasonable. Like it's so stupid. Script was poor, and they were a credible gay couple. Yeah, that's it. He just kills them. He just wastes them, right? And I've got no problem with that, right? If you're in a horror film, you're fair game, right?
yeah,
I don't care what team you bat for, right? It's you're fair game. I like the
yeah.
original Halloween. The sequels got progressively worse. The remake and its sequel were unnecessary. Oh yeah, the zombie ones, Rob Zombie. The new films are also kind of excessive. I'm not sure Halloween should go on. Yeah, well, hopefully it actually ends, Ice Lord, right? Like this live stream, right? But the not that honestly, you've been an absolute brilliant guest. Honestly, and you too, Ice Lord, right? I'm not picking favourites here, but you've been an absolutely fantastic guest, Josh, and I would love
But
to have you on again. My watch hours and my views, they thank you, right?
but
If I make any money of this, I'll send you, probably like 20 pence or 25 cents or something. That's probably what I'll make overall,
oh
right?
no.
I, I don't hope that the live stream ends. I'm late, yeah, but he's got to transform into the creature and run around Chicago. He's not got those. George is a cool guy. I'm enjoying this. George, who's George? George Romero. He's dead, mate. So he's very cool. you know.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, if you want to just jump on, and he can go. If you want to stay around, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Seriously, if it was Johnny Carson, he'd be like, right, we need to cut to a commercial break. We need to, Mash is about to come on. I don't know what I'm doing. I got the dude's name wrong. Sorry. Oh, yeah. That's it. George is a better name though, isn't it? George is just like King George. You don't get King Josh. Never been a King Josh.
Oh
Is
God,
there?
I don't think so.
Uh, then you get King George the Fifth. You know what I mean? It's like there's been five of them. You know what I mean? There's sequels. You just don't want the third one. He was the crazy one. He was the,
Yeah.
he was the king when the UK lost America,
Oh wow.
and they blame that. They blame it on him. When you guys got independence, it was because of the crazy. That's what the British tell themselves. It's because the king was crazy. Oh, he didn't know what he was doing. King George the Third. That was the Madness of King George, the film.
Oh, okay.
Good movie, good movie. And the funny thing was, is that the play that it was based on was called The Madness of King George 3, which
Oh wow.
meant the third, right? But they were worried that if they released it in America, people thought it was a sequel. Like, oh, what happened to one and two? You know? Well, I'm totally boring you into the ground, aren't
No.
I? I warned you this would happen. Terence, you're gonna have to try and get an interview with Nev Campbell between me and you horror fans and the new Scream a hit. We can make it happen. Oh, yeah. Have you seen that new one? Scream 5?
hmm
Yeah. I thought it was quite a funny modus operandi. I did spoil the modus operandi the other night. I didn't give away who the killers are, but the idea that we're horror fans and we're tired of how rubbish horror films have got. So let's make them better by committing murder so we can inspire better horror films. Wow. Bit of a stretch, isn't it? I mean, what are they going to come up with next? Right?
I have no idea. They're making another one. So
Yeah, of course they are. It made like $140 million domestic during a pandemic. I
mm,
mean, that's not to be sniffed at for a
yeah,
for a dead franchise that had been long dead. You know, I
absolutely.
was I wasn't that impressed with it. I thought it was just a nostalgia piece,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think I've already told you all this stuff before. The it recycled a lot of the first one. I really like Jasmine Savoy Brown's character, and she was the replacement for Randy,
Yeah, she was.
right? And she's and according to the report, she's going to be in the next one again, so that's good. I hope they give her more screen time. I thought
I
she had some funny scenes, and it was funny when she was being a pure sleaze and all that,
she was
right?
enjoyable. I really enjoyed the character. I really did.
Yeah, and but I was not impressed with the leading lady, the new final girl, the one that was Billy's daughter.
Oh,
I was like,
was it Sam?
yeah, she was a
There was a
blank.
that first scene where she's in the hospital telling the story about who she really is to her sister and the fake crying and stuff. I'm just like, dude,
Mm,
stop
I
it.
know.
It was
Made
not
me.
best acting in my opinion.
Yeah, she was a bit weak. I hope she doesn't make it. Uh, yeah, Yellow Jackets. My partner's watched the entire series. If you're a fan of Rainbow Fright, her channel, she did a whole breakdown of that show. Should check that out, Mr. Robin Lover. You'd love her channel. She's a great content creator, way better than me, light years ahead of me, right? And quality, but also, yeah, Jasmine Savoy Brown. She is an. Have you seen the one she did last year, where she's the lead? Sound of Violence. That
Mm,
is a good film. No, you need to see that. It is a bit of a sort of fever dream of a horror film where a lot of the logic goes out the window, right? So if you can approach it like that, but it's really quite amusing. This girl, she turns deaf at a young age from witnessing a brutal murder,
oh,
right? No, she's not. No, she is deaf originally. She gets her hearing back. She gets her hearing back from witnessing a brutal murder. Sorry, and
oh
when
wow.
she's in her early 20s at college, right? And she witnesses violence. And when she witnesses violence, she has this almost like orgasm of this psychedelic orgasm, right? Where she gets this euphoric feeling from this from the sound of violence.
Oh
So
wow.
she what she does, and she's into music recording, right, and sound design. So she goes out and kills people and records the sound of violence, right? Because
Sounded
it's like a drug to her. It
wow.
is actually quite an interesting horror film. Strange, like idea, and it's not on for too long. It's really enjoyable.
Wow. That's
I did not know Christina Ricci is seen as a queer icon, and this she's a psycho in it, right? Okay. I mean, she's good at playing psychos. It never dawned on me that she would be considered one. Again, sorry to spam, but Tom York did a great horror. Oh yeah, this is. See if you go to Rainbow Fright's channel, I jammed with her. We did a video on the Suspiria remake in comparison with the original, and yeah, the music in that was fantastic. I loved the Suspiria remake. I thought it was on par with the original, but it was a different movie.
mm.
God.
Oh, I do have to get going. It's
Yep.
8:03. But
Yeah, I
it,
know.
it's been an honor being here, man. I appreciate you putting
Absolutely.
so.
Lovely. And anytime, right? I'll try not to drag it on too long.
Although
Okay, Josh, but
fun.
thank you so much for you're taking your time out of your Saturday to do
Oh,
this, right?
it was fun, man. I had a good time.
Oh, brilliant. See you again, right?
Take
Goodbye, everybody. Cheerio.